So you have decided to switch the diet of your dog or kitty cat to a raw food. Well, how do you go about making that switch and that transition? There's two thoughts on this. The first thought is to do the fast method, and you guessed it, the second thought on it is to use the slow method. With the fast method, what happens is that you transition the food right away, overnight. So your dog's on a kibble, the next day he goes on the raw food. Now, it's not something that I personally would kind of recommend or suggest, because chances are there's going to be quite a bit of an adjustment on your doggy's digestive tract, and you may end up with some diarrhea and even some vomiting. You may end up at your regular veterinary clinic and she or he might tell you to put the dog back on a kibble. Kind of defeats the purpose of switching it to a raw food. So then we're kind of left with the slow method, which I like. Slow method would mean that you are transitioning the food from, let's say, a dry kibble or a moist food to the raw food over a period from, let's say, 5 to 14 days. 7 days or a week is kind of a good kind of a guideline to start with. So try to make sure that you're not giving the dry food, let's say, and the raw food at the same time in the same meal. Switch it up a little bit. So if your dog's getting 2 meals a day, give it its normal meal in the morning, a normal meal at night, maybe a little bit less so, and in the middle of the day you give a little bit of raw food on the first day. The second day you give a little bit more raw food until you get to a point where you can say, okay, one meal of the day will be a dry food, the other meal will be the moist food, and then you kind of keep on working your way up. The other suggestion I will make is to make sure that you're not mixing up different types of raw food in the beginning when you're doing your transition. Use something like bison or buffalo or beef or chicken. Just pick one protein source, because if your dog is sensitive to one of these protein sources and is allergic to it, you're going to notice it quite quickly. And if you're mixing up different kinds of foods, of course, they'll get digested a little bit differently. You're going to be kind of confused as to why your dog all of a sudden is getting so itchy. There's nothing wrong with having a meal of dry food in the morning and a meal of raw food in the evening, or vice versa. For some people, when you have a big dog, raw food can be expensive. So it is a good alternative to kind of cut back on costs a little bit and still have the benefits of feeding your dog raw food. From the Montgomery Village Veterinary Clinic, I'm Dr. Dirk Dekens.